family law in Korea. Family law is very much informed by Confucian notions. Only a male, for example, could be the head of the family. What did that mean? It meant that the legal head of the family was the only one who could approve marriages, divorces, immigration, getting a passport. A son or a daughter could not get a passport without the approval of the head of the family. If the husband died, the wife did not become head of the family. The eldest son became head of the family. Okay? So this was seen by Korean feminists as very oppressive. There were other problems as well. South Korean law was very lenient in the case of rape. And of course, women were embarrassed, ashamed to admit that they'd been raped. But then, the typical attitude in Korean courts if charges of rape were brought against a man was, the woman was asking for it. And men will be men. There was a rather spectacular case that happened in the late 1980s down in the southern city of Daegu, where a young woman, a wife, a married woman, had been at the market and was walking back home at dusk. And the young man jumped out of the alley, threw her down, and began to rape her. He forced his tongue into her mouth, so she bit his tongue. Bit it off. And he leaped up, blood, and he can't talk, and he runs to the police station. He files a report against her. And when this hit the newspapers and feminist movements and some very important female lawyers in Korea, Lee Tae-young among others, they decided to take up the cause. And of course, Korean courts said, well, she should not have done this to him. She damaged him. And they found her guilty of assault against him. Well, the feminists and the lawyers, female lawyers, got this overturned. And then they began to agitate for changes in the Korean legal system to offer greater protection to women. And they began to win major victories there. But the issue about the family law and the Hoju system, or the household head system, was a very difficult one to resolve because Confucian traditionalists and many other men simply fought tooth and nail against any change in the family law. But eventually the South Korean Supreme Court, Constitutional Court as they call it, ruled that the Korean family law was in fact unconstitutional. And they threw out the household head system. And so now anybody can be a household head, and anybody can constitute a household of their own. And this was seen as a signal victory for women in Korea. At any rate, throughout the 1990s, interest in this question of Confucianism and modernity really kept growing stronger and stronger in East Asia. However, after the financial crisis of 1997, it just disappeared, almost completely, except perhaps in the case of China. The group that I mentioned at Yonsei University, for example, was publishing that journal, Tradition and Modernity. They quit publishing their journal. One of them resigned from his position and went over to Europe and started doing something else. They had no sympathy anymore. One of the reasons was because when the bubble burst in 1997, when the financial flu hit East Asia, many people said one of the reasons why we have this financial crisis in East Asia is because of cronyism and lack of transparency. And they attributed cronyism and lack of transparency to Confucianism. So, you can see it's been up and down. But what I've been trying to say throughout my rather cursory examination of the fates of Confucianism during these three periods is that Confucianism is not monolithic. It plays out in different trajectories in each of these East Asian countries. And so I think it's very difficult and very dangerous to try to present Confucianism as an essence of the East, as in opposition to some sort of essential West. Yeah, I think that's a very difficult argument to make. Rather, I would say that Confucianism is very plastic. That is, it can be easily used for political and social purposes by political and social leaders. So I would say that when we're thinking about Confucianism as an explanatory tool for changes that have come about in East Asia, be it Japan, China, or Korea, we always must look at the specific political and social context within which these changes are being made and within which these ideas about Confucianism are being argued. Thank you very much.
Well, before